the greatest misconception is that it's a decision and that you should forgive. And the problem is the body doesn't go there that quickly. Anger is never intended to be a permanent feeling. It never was designed that way. It is designed to keep us safe.
Welcome to Wired and Worthy, the podcast for people who feel everything deeply, think about everything constantly, and have spent way too long believing that they were too much. I'm Dr. Amelia Kelley, your host, someone who believes the way you're wired was never the problem. You belong here exactly as you are. Because remember, you may be wired differently, but you are worthy always. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Wired and Worthy. Today, we get to sit down with Dr. Deb Sandella, the creator of the RIM method. She was, first of all, so fun, but second of all, so kind and giving to share so many of her amazing methods that are going to help you, just like they were helping me in real time, move on and move forward after betrayal, after times where you struggle to forgive, after times where you might be holding on to something that you just don't want to hold on to anymore. So if you've been holding on to some anger, if you've struggled to move forward in a relationship, or if you just want to let go of the old ick, this episode is going to give you so many great ideas. Dr. Deb, you were fantastic. And if you have not checked her out and her RIM method, it is time to check it out today on Wired and Worthy. Let's get into it. Well, Dr. Deb, I'm super excited you're here. I was just saying a moment ago that we had quite a journey to finally get down and sit with each other. So for anyone who has never met you before, you have so many cool things you've done in your life that have brought you to this chair today. And I know we have a special topic that we're going to explore, but could you give everyone a little intro of what makes you excited in the world? Like, what do you love to work on and do?
Mm-hmm. So I think that what makes me really excited is how to actually go deep and connect with really everybody. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's a big world, and yet we're all still the same. We're humans, and humans have our strengths, and we also have our humanity, which is not infallible. And so being together, with other people for the better of the whole world or the whole of humanity, to me is just so exciting. I don't know. I've just always felt very connected to nature and everything. And
Yeah.
that just being able to teach that and explore it, like even this morning, we have a hummingbird that we can see the nest where it's laying eggs
Uh-huh.
right out of our window from our kitchen's table.
Oh, that's lucky.
Yes, and so we're so into her. We're watching
Mhm.
all the time, keep checking. How is she? How's she doing? So it's
Yeah.
like there's a lot of life in the world.
Mm-hmm. And they must be later, like blooming in the season, because I'm like, I feel like all of our birds' nests are already empty, but I guess those busy. Where are you located again? I guess maybe it depends on where
Colorado.
we.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. No,
Colorado.
that tracks then. Okay, they are probably smart enough to track the seasons as well. Well, and it's interesting because just launching into what you were saying most excites you, it could not have been more of an HSP answer, like a highly sensitive person answer. And
Oh,
that
okay.
that was I think that was one of our initial connections because we have like a connection through the energy world. And so it's that I'm excited that you're here because I think someone like you and the method that you have that you're offering in the world that I would love for you to tell people about too, so they have a little context into how you do what you're excited about doing, is how we can use what you've poured your heart into to help everyone who's listening move on from times or people or situations that have hurt them and
Right.
finally find forgiveness. So that's what we're here to talk about today.
Yes. Definitely worth
Mhm.
talking about.
Yeah. So, how would you, I don't want to say how would you define forgiveness because I feel like, everyone kind of has a concept, but what do you think are some of the greatest misconceptions about
Hmm.
forgiveness to get us started?
Right. Well, I think the greatest misconception is that it's a decision and that you should forgive. And the problem is the body doesn't go there that quickly. So that instead of a decision, I see it as a healing process, an individual healing process that the forgiver goes through, because we do need to feel heard. And the way we do that, you want to be safe. So that venting on the person that we're forgiving is not helpful. So, but we need to express ourselves in a safe way, whether that's writing it uncensored way or it is physically. So people with exercise, but they have that intention to get the upset and the anger, the whatever the feeling is,
Yeah.
it is an angst in the body. And so we have to clear that angst in the body first before the mind can actually come on board to look at it in a different way.
Yeah.
And so that I think is something that is very misunderstood, that you don't just
Yeah.
automatically easily decide I'm going to forgive, because
Right.
it's a bigger thing than that.
Mhm. Okay, I have so many things to say. And some of them are personal too, so I'll be kind of, like, mindful of how I pose some of these questions. Well, one is an observation, and then one is a direct question off of what
Okay.
you were saying. So observation, the movement piece. I remember, well, this is probably like 15 plus years ago, back when I lived in the mountain region of North Carolina. I was with my husband, who was my fiance at the time. I don't remember why I did this, but we were talking about something related to generational stuff. And I mentioned a particular family member on one of my sides of the family that, just for privacy's sake, I'm being like a little conscientious of how I
Sure.
describe it, but someone who had caused pain, not
Mm-hmm.
even to me necessarily, but to someone close to me that then it impacted me. And I saw a driving range near, like, as we were
Yeah.
driving,
Yeah.
and I suddenly was like, "Andrew, stop the car." And he's like, "Okay, all right." And he luckily he goes with my crazy whims. He stopped the
Love it.
car, and I jumped out and I said, "I don't know why, but I feel the need to." I'm not a golfer, by the way, you guys. I feel the need to get a bucket of balls and go for it. So what I did, and this might sound really, like, I don't know, intense, but I imagined, this is almost terrible, but, like, I imagined the person was the
Mm-hmm.
balls, and
Right.
every time I hit, that was the best golfing I've ever done, by the way. And I remember doing that, and I also remember around that time, we would hike a lot because we're out in the mountains, and I had this weird thing where I would have to, like, pick up sticks and, like, throw them at trees. Like, I felt like I was moving something out of my body. I
Right.
could feel it.
Yes. Yes. That's so important. And that's a beautiful story, because that is a way that we can do it. And, people sometimes use tennis rackets to hit the bed. That's a good one. Pillows hitting the bed. But our body is not thinking. Our
Right, right.
body has a real power to it that is intense. And so these kind of feelings are extremely intense. Anger is
Yeah.
very intense. It's very
Mhm.
intense. And we can't override it. We can't talk ourselves out of it. But that is what we've been trying to do for years. Uh,
Okay, I love how you put that. Like, we can't talk ourselves or override it. So that leads me into my question related to what you were saying.
mhm.
What if the person that you're trying to forgive has changed, but it feels like, so on one hand, it feels dangerous to forgive because there's always that, like, waiting for the other shoe to drop kind of energy.
Mhm.
But there's this part of you who's like, "Okay, I really should forgive them." It's really like, I see that they're making changes, they've made amends, they're doing the things, but your body is just not listening, like, to what you're
Right.
saying. So it's not like some people who might be listening might have someone that they feel resistant to forgive because they don't feel like the person deserves it or because they're still holding anger. I'm talking more like functional anger that you don't want anymore.
Right, right.
Okay.
So that the expressing the angst from the body first is important. And then also giving it words is important so that you hear your own self, for one thing, that it's being expressed. Because we know the one way I talk about it is it's kind of like water in a pitcher, that the water
Okay.
is the emotion and the pitcher is our body. And so when we express both physically and verbally, it's like pouring the water out of the pitcher. So that anger is never intended to be a permanent feeling. It never was designed that way. It is designed to keep us safe because
Yeah.
anger is a safety mechanism like that tips you off. There could be potential danger either in the way you're approaching it or in what somebody around you is doing or saying. And so once the angst is down, then you can be with the process. And actually, I mean, I have a story, a client
Yeah,
story
please.
that
Mhm.
because we deal with this with the technique that I created is called regenerating images in memory. And we're dealing with what is the pivotal memory that is stuck in the body so that we can regenerate it into an empowering memory rather than a sabotaging or self-limiting memory. And so there was a woman that came in. She was actually referred by her healthcare provider because she had been divorced for 6 years when her husband had cheated on her that 6 years ago. Since that 6 years,
She had been divorced 6 years and then he
oh
cheated
no, he
and she had
cheated and they,
okay, and
yeah,
then
that was,
okay, thank
yeah,
you.
it was, sorry, I
I
didn't
was a
say it
little like,
correct.
"What?"
Well, it,
We're all together, guys. We're here.
right. Well, and in some ways, it was true that she kept feeling him cheating on her every day afterwards
Okay, I
in
got
the
that,
divorce for
yeah.
6 years.
I
And
could understand that,
yes,
yeah.
so she was suffering miserably with intestinal issues starting 6 years ago, and they just kept getting worse and worse and worse. So her healthcare provider referred her to me. And in her session, when she closed her eyes, because RIM, or regenerating images in memory, is a closed eye process. And as we invited her body awareness and her imagination, her spontaneous imagination to communicate what was there for her, what showed up was a volcano in her belly.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be an image related to what happened, it's just like a free form image that
Well, it
comes.
was,
So
yeah. Well, what happens is because we create a great deal of, in this process, we initially create a lot of safety, of inner safety. So what happens is the unconscious offers up the very perfect memory and the perfect images to represent the core of the issue. And we're
okay,
never asking, it's not visualization. We don't have a clue what's going to show up. So it's coming directly from their psyche. And so for her, what showed up was this volcano, which
okay,
first of all, like shocked her because the volcano was spewing hot lava everywhere. And so as we interacted with the volcano, she actually imagined moving into the volcano and sensing what was there. And it was, of course, her rage and her anger. And so she was able, in talking with the volcano, to actually express the level of the depth of her feeling of betrayal and anger with her husband. What was interesting, though, this is the part that is so important, is as she was there spontaneously, some images of her and her husband interacting before the violation showed up. And she saw that she had been angry with him for a very long time. And that actually it hit her that she had pushed him away. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, and so all of a sudden, she realized that she had contributed to his having an affair. And what happened is she immediately was no longer a victim.
So what was she?
Now she was a conspirator. So she knew what she had done now that really didn't work. So now going forward in new relationships, she knew what she was going to need to work with because her
Yeah.
anger predated actually the affair. And so I got a call a week later. I got a call from the person who had referred her and said, "What did you do to her?" And I said, "I don't know. What happened?" And she said, "Well, the week after the session, she had called up her ex-husband and apologized for her part."
I was actually gonna ask if that, like, has to be part of the process or if that's just a typical thing that people do, or was that atypical? Like
It's like a customized experience.
right,
So,
different for everyone.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's very contextual. So everything, even the same client, you'll have different things happen in another session, given where you are in that moment. So that no, that happened spontaneously. I would not have asked her to do that. That would
It
have
kinda
been
reminds me a little of, like, the subconscious imagery that can come up in art therapy sometimes
uh-huh.
where, like, you don't know you just kind of free flow or for anyone, listening who maybe they like to journal or they like to I think about when you were saying movement, I think there's, like, spontaneous dance is, like, a new craze. I know it's
Yeah.
probably not new, okay,
Well,
so don't
yeah,
call me
well,
out. It's probably not new, but it's suddenly I'm hearing about it. So to
right.
me, it's new.
But it's great.
Um
It's great.
yeah, like the being able to move that. So I'm curious when, like leading back to, you were saying the thing about fear and anger. Or you weren't saying fear, but you're saying anger, I
Well,
think.
yeah, fear is a little bit of a part of almost every feeling, I think, probably, because that's the place in
Right.
the brain where it originates, is the place where fear originates.
Right. So there's an emotion that I've noticed that has come up in some forgiveness work that doesn't get talked about as much that I bet you anything you have a thought on. And it's disgust.
Ah, that
I would
is,
love for you to talk about disgust because disgust is such a weird, like, kind of trauma response or response to someone that's betrayed you because it's not quite fear. Like fear, I feel like we can change something and then it's we have a it's a little bit more black or white to me, but disgust feels so confusing.
yeah,
Curious your
just
thoughts on that.
yeah, I would say that disgust, well, for one thing, I don't know, the Gottman's work in couples therapy, it's like disgust and contempt for each other. When those symptoms show up, that can be a killer, a relationship killer for sure. So that there is something in disgust and contempt where there is a judgment that there's now a hierarchy. The person that is being disgusted is now lower
Oh,
in the
okay.
on the ladder, so to speak. So it's like really putting them down in a very, very subtle way. But the body picks up on subtlety. So the body feels really put down. And so it is a very wounding kind of response. So you're basically starting a fight, a back and forth. Who's going to be able to cause the other the most pain? So it's a very destructive process that gets initiated with disgust and contempt. And I would also go on to say that probably that the people that have that as a common reaction have had earlier trauma in their lives that has caused them to be guarded to that degree, because it's a pretty high level of guarding,
Yeah. And what makes you say that? Why do you think it's a high level of guarding?
because it is so distancing.
That's a good point.
It's like taking a hatchet to somebody's head, in
Well, and
comparison
also
to other things.
Yeah, well, I mean, one thing that, like, if I'm thinking of the person who is disgusted, not the one that, if that makes sense, the one that is feeling the, when I think of it from a somatic
Mm,
stance, it makes me wonder sometimes about, like, we all talk about the gut brain connection and
mhm,
all of that, and just like that primal
mhm.
response. Back when I was first looking into this disgust response, because it had been coming up a lot in some of the work I was doing,
Yeah.
something that I had come across was that it can sometimes be connected to kind of like, if you're, just to use like pregnancy, for example, if you're
Mhm.
pregnant and you start to feel more disgusted by certain foods, and it's
Right.
usually a protective thing because then we're not being drawn to these exotic foods that could be carrying bacteria, and we're kind of
Sure.
eating like toddlers, versus I think of like the emotional disgust where it, like to your point, it really does, it insanely causes a distance,
Mhm.
like that disgust response.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wonder if some people are more prone to it also, if they do have a lot of like maybe nervous system dysregulation. I don't know. I just don't know
I
why
would
someone that
say
would be more prevalent.
yeah, I would say early trauma, the people that I worked
Yeah.
with that there was disgust, and it did show up with food too. There were associations with food that it was like, just cannot tolerate this, and it would affect the relationships in the room, when it was present. That they did have some considerable earlier trauma, that once that trauma was healed and dissolved, then that changed. It softened. It's like there was a softening, because disgust is very hard. It's very harsh.
Mhm. Mhm. It kind of makes me think too, like, of the potential of intergenerational trauma or epigenetics or anything like that. Actually, your episode is going to be coming right on the heels of Mark Wollin's episode, and
Okay.
he wrote It Didn't Start With Us. He talks a lot about
Right.
epigenetics and how sometimes a physical response we could be having could be kind of leftover intergenerational stuff that wasn't worked through for maybe our mother or our
Right.
grandmother even. So, yeah, I wonder sometimes too if you're someone who is, more prone to, I don't know, things like, I'm thinking of like this whole wired and worthy premise of this show is that we can be rewired from these experiences.
Absolutely, we can. Yes.
So I just wonder, but then I wonder on the flip side. So I always like to make sure that we talk about, we lay out for everyone listening, like this is the struggle portion of this wiring. What's the potential? Because I don't want anyone to walk away thinking, okay, well now I'm just disgusted and distant and scared and I need to hit golf balls and I'm just like, and that's it. And but so what can someone do to start like shifting out of this, short of being in touch with you and getting your fabulous method like right away? I mean, what do you think is maybe the first step? That's my first part of the question.
Yeah.
My second part is this easier or harder if you yourself have things internally you want to forgive yourself for?
Absolutely. So there's two
Mhm.
two places there, two
Yep.
issues.
Yeah, to pick your door, go through whichever door you wanna go on.
Right. Yeah, I think that the intergenerational trauma, it definitely is present. I think Gabor Mate says that all trauma is generational sourced. And we do work with generational trauma. And that it's always working through the client's body. So that I would say what people can do, which is so important, immediately and all the time, is to start pausing, multiple times during a day, and tuning into what are you experiencing in your body, and really
Yeah.
sensing it, like closing your eyes so that, and you can be walking around. You don't have to be still. It doesn't have anything to do with stillness.
But if you're walking, don't have your eyes
That,
closed.
yeah, no, that's true. Or driving.
Don't run
No,
into
no.
things.
That's right. So, thank you for that.
I don't wanna be having anyone contact me because they get injured because they're like, "But it was Dr. Deb's method."
Right. So yes, pause while you're closing your eyes,
Yes,
uh,
please.
to sense and sensing what is calling your attention in your body. Because when we really pay attention, we can go, well, I don't know why, but all of a sudden it feels like there's something over here. And it's just energy. It's not that there's really anything in there, but it's like it gives you access to emotions because emotions are energies in the body. And so
Yes.
as you sense in your body, well, there's something over here, then start focusing on it and kind of sense how big, how much space is it taking up in your body? Does it have, size, shape, color, form, image, anything? Because all of that is possible. And then just imagine going into it and being in that energy and sensing just like that, what's the feeling here and what's it related to? And it's actually not that hard to do. It's the mind doesn't relate to it, but the body is very accessible in this way. We just don't
Mhm.
talk yourself out of it.
Yeah. What do you mean talk yourself out of it? Like,
Oh,
how
the
would
mind
people
get will
typically do that?
question. Yeah, the mind questions. So the mind, there's the two minds. There's the logical mind and the intuitive emotional mind. And the logical mind doesn't know how to feel, and the emotional mind doesn't know how to talk. So there's a real problem. No wonder we have
They
issues.
really need each
Yeah, they
other.
really, yes, they're the couple that needs each other desperately. But the mind likes to think of itself as superior over feelings and emotions. So it can give us that voice that's very punitive and
Yeah.
do
You could see that in the way people talk about, like, they're so logical, like, it almost sounds like a compliment versus they're so emotional,
right.
tends to be like the insult.
Absolutely. Well, and it did really, it started back with Socrates and Aristotle. They actually wrote papers about how it was unvirtuous. That's what the exact word. It was unvirtuous to be angry or jealous. Well, these are just normal
Oh,
feelings.
geez, talk about repression.
I know exactly. So we inherited
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
It's been coming down for a long time that somehow it makes us a bad person, but it's in probably in the collective unconscious. It's not necessarily conscious to it. And we're becoming so much more conscious of all these things, which is great.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because I've always thought it was odd, ironic, typical, I don't know the best word, that anyone I've ever seen that's called into my practice for anger management
Hmm.
is almost always men. And typically, and
Yes.
I feel like when we look at the fact that we're coupling like the size and the potentiality for harm with the fact that we're saying that anger is scary or unvirtuous
Yes.
or it's the dangerous emotion. I mean, yes, it's good to like learn the skills and the breath technique and all of that, but I feel like one of the first things I work on with my men, especially my sensitive men who feel a lot of
Yeah.
anger, is befriending their anger and
Hmm.
not vilifying their anger because otherwise, if we think of like parts work, it's going to take over the whole show.
Right, right. Absolutely. Yes, I think that's absolutely true. And actually, women have anger just as much. It's just it's experienced and expressed differently usually. So that like when women get angry, sometimes they cry. you
Right.
know,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
that
Been there.
yes, 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 because
Mhm.
there's the not being able, feeling unable to express anger that I know when I was growing up, my dad's Italian, was Italian, and he could get very angry and scare me at times. And so I really grew up feeling like I'm not going to have any anger. And what I found is it got really confusing because with denying the anger, I couldn't acknowledge what my feeling was when I was angry. And then that creates confusion, like I don't know what I'm feeling.
Mm.
And it,
You know, it
yeah.
it's interesting because I think about like the first place we started with being able to forgive and move through
Mhm.
things. And I mean, I think to a degree, I'm pretty good at letting go and forgiving things. I don't love holding grudges because I don't like the way it feels in my body.
Yeah.
However, I think maybe subconsciously I have a little bit harder time. I've never thought of it this way. This is like a weird light bulb, like kind of running down the rat maze moment.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I think I might have a harder time having like the full cycle of forgiveness for a situation or person it sounds weird, but if I empathize too much for
Mm-hmm.
them,
Mm-hmm.
because I think based on what you're saying, what I might not be doing is going through my full cycle of anger first
Right.
before trying to empathize.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. And a lot of women do that. They immediately start empathizing and, being compassionate with the person that they're angry with. And then they don't complete. And then that can lead to like sadness and depression, if you do it too much, too long. So that, yeah, there just gets to be just a little bit of a, what do I want to say, mm, a slight dulling of emotion, because when we turn down the faucet on the intense feelings that we don't like, we call them the ugly feelings, that it actually turns down the joy feelings too, and people don't realize that, but it's all coming out
Mhm.
of the same faucet.
Mhm. Into the picture
Right, right, exactly.
from earlier. So what if so there was that door number 3, I think I had asked the question about like what if you're angry with yourself? Or what
Right.
if this is around like guilt, which
Hmm.
may be misplaced often, but
Hmm.
what do we do in that situation? Because I think you've done a really beautiful job of identifying like noticing the body, allowing movement in the body, allowing full like cycles of anger maybe
Hmm.
towards, maybe to the person, the dangers of contempt and disgust and all of this, the separating factor that disgust can. So I'm starting to get a good picture of this. But what if this is all happening as an internal process and it's towards yourself?
Yeah, that is almost the hardest because it's the easiest to miss, I would say. And, I like to think about it as, what we can work on is self compassion all the time, really, because people tend to be very hard on themselves, harder than we are on others, no matter what. It doesn't, may not show that way, but internally, that's what's really happening. And what I've found, with people that I had worked with, that eventually there's some way down deep after they go really deep in themselves for a while. It's like, oh, wow, I really thought there was something wrong with me. And it's like, wow, but this was totally unconscious. And so just to acknowledge that, because soon as we acknowledge it, then it's first of all, it's no longer hidden. It's no longer down in the body with power to do things without us knowing it. And we're able to say, well, I'm not that bad. you know, I'm really,
Mhm.
I think then we can do some reality testing and intentionally create some self compassion. I find it really helpful. There's a particular activity I do that's very, very simple about sensing from 1 to 10 how self compassionate you are.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. And then whatever, just, I'm always working with the intuitive response. So whatever
Okay.
number pops in first.
7.
7. Okay. So go
That was my
ahead.
number.
Yes. So stand in the 7 of self
Okay.
compassion. And this is where you're living. So you'll just get a sense of how you walk, talk, feel, who you are at this 7 level of self compassion. And now from here, look to the 10. And as you look to the 10, your imagination will bring you an awareness of who you are and what you look like at the 10 level of self compassion. And you just start tuning into what that is.
Right.
And
Is it kind of like what I would have to do to get to a 10? That's kind of
well,
where my brain went.
that's the next part. And
Oh,
so
okay.
then now you may not want to do this. It's up to you. But so between where you are and the 10 level of self compassion, an image will just pop in of what is in your way that represents what's in your way of growing more self compassionate. And whatever that image is, you can just receive it.
I saw
And
like tense muscles.
okay,
Why?
okay. So
Tense muscles came to my mind.
yeah,
I don't know why.
well, maybe what happens is there's certain emotions where you tense up, and then the process does get kind of inhibited rather than going fully through. I mean, it could be exactly what you just talked about. around allowing, your full emotion cycle and not feeling guilty about it. It's more like you're completing rather than you shouldn't
Yeah.
be angry at this level. You need to complete the cycle to
Huh.
be successful, so to speak. So,
And the thing that I find so
mhm.
intriguing about this, sorry, I totally interrupted you, Dr. Deb,
That's okay. No, that's fine.
is is that I'm like, because this is my session right now. No, I'm just kidding. Is that I think if I was going to be like non-compassionate at all to myself, it would be around like, well, why can't you just get your body to let go of whatever tension it is holding around certain
Okay,
things?
right. Yes,
Like, why can't you just stop?
right,
Just
right.
stop it.
So the next step, and you don't have to do that here, you could do it, on your own, or, I'll let you decide what you're going to do with it. But would be that you will now move into that image of the tense muscles and speak to yourself.
To the muscles or to
No,
myself
you're
from
going
the
to speak
image?
for the muscles to you, the
Uh-huh.
person. to
Oh,
Amelia,
okay.
to Amelia. And it's like, well, what I'm here to tell you about being in the way of your self-compassion is,
That is super intriguing.
isn't it?
Yeah. I think I'm gonna I'm making a promise to you that I will sit and do some, like, meditation on this and
Okay.
really think on that.
Yeah.
It's funny, part of me is tempted to keep going, and part of me is like, "You know what? I think if" and this is where this was my whole mission with, like, Wired and Worthy was to be real and to, like, have these, like, real connections and also to honor my limitations, and
Sure. Of course.
I think in that moment, I think I would almost be responding to the muscles right now because I bet someone's listening going, "Oh my gosh, what is she gonna say to the muscles?" But I want it to be only about me. And I think that I'm gonna save that for me, but guess what, Dr. Deb? I will email you.
Good, good. I would
I
like
will
to hear.
tell you.
Okay.
I'll journal a little bit about it and tell you what me and the muscles talk about.
Good, good.
That's
Just
so I like that.
make sure it's two-way conversation,
Okay,
that the
two-way.
muscles get to talk.
Okay.
That's
Oh,
that's
interesting.
what's
Okay.
most important, because that's
Mhm.
the image showed up came from your unconscious.
Yeah.
So that it is what knows something that your conscious mind doesn't know.
It's interesting too because I always say I have this like spot on my right shoulder that I always say is like my barometer for if
Uh-huh.
I'm stressed or if something is off or anything
Mhm.
like that. And it's like maybe I can tell that part of my shoulder like to chill out. But then it might tell me like, no, I'm not going to chill out until you chill out. Like
Well, so what you can but so, like, just imagine if you were talking for that shoulder at that time, then looking from the perspective of the shoulder, it's like, "Amelia, what I am trying to tell you is, the information I'm really bringing you that you're ignoring is, so that it becomes helpful, not a control battle."
right, we're not in a confrontation.
No, it's not a because this is about not using control, not trying to control or tamp down feelings, because that doesn't work. So it's exactly the opposite of that.
This is super cool because it reminds me of some of the parts work that I really
Mhm.
love that like
Mhm.
but it's not parts work in the
No.
sense that we're not trying to pull parts. We're using, to your point, like unconsciousness and imagery. And I can really see how this would help someone move through forgiveness. And one of the neatest things about this whole conversation today is that at no point have we talked about the other person. Like, we're not talking about the other
Right.
person having to do anything.
No. No. Because we don't have control over those people, and sometimes they've passed. Sometimes they've left us and have gone out of the country or other places, so that then we can, if we don't really deal with it ourselves separately, then we are held hostage by them, even though they're a ghost. It's a ghost of them. And that's why because through imagination, they're always still available.
I love that. And I read something recently because I was intrigued by this idea, like of how does someone forgive even if they're waiting for the other shoe to drop. And the thing I came across was if you're fixating on the other person changing or the other person not messing up
Yeah,
again. There's so much tension and vigilance and watching. And usually it's because the real thing is you don't trust that you're going to follow through with what you need to do if they do it again.
absolutely. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. I would agree with
It's,
that totally.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so that self-trust and knowing, for anyone listening, like if there's someone who you want to forgive and you're just waiting for the shoe to drop, if that shoe drops, you're going to take care of yourself.
Yes.
You're going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's exactly right. Because otherwise, they're kind of, you're letting them buy real estate in your mind and body, you know?
Oh, we are soul sisters. I've said that for so long. I love that. That was like when I thought I invented hangry, and I'm like, why did that become so popular? I'm like, I've been saying that forever. Who stole that from me?
Yeah.
Maybe Snickers. I don't know.
It could be. It could be. It is a good line.
Yes. So, Dr. Deb, can I ask you, just as a way to kind of take all these beautiful ideas that I'm really grateful. I hope people really understand how much they should appreciate what you shared today because you really did give us a peek into your RIM method. I can tell. Like
Mhm.
you were not holding back and you were letting us heal and like get ideas in real time, which I appreciate because sometimes experts or people will come on and they like withhold it and you can
Uh,
feel their withholding.
mhm.
I already respected you, but I just respect you and appreciate you so much more
Oh,
for sharing what you did genuinely.
thank you.
So, I mean, and I'm glad we made it happen too. We had a couple a couple moments of getting it to work and get together. So, for anyone listening who you want to make sure that like they can walk away from this episode feeling a little lighter, a little less of that emotional weight. You talked about so many ways to do that already, but is there any last thing that you didn't get to talk about or that you wanted to make sure that they knew before we end our chat? And then they hopefully run off and go find you and all the wonderful things you're putting into the world.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
Well, the one thing that I did feel I wanted to share is that when we first wake up in the morning, that is when our serotonin and good hormone levels are the lowest because of the nighttime. And so in the morning when you first wake up, do do some things for yourself that really feel good to your body. And it may for me it sometimes is to do a meditation, listen to a meditation. Or right now, as I was sharing with you, we have this hummingbird
Oh,
that
yeah.
has nested right outside our window
Mhm.
that we watch
Mhm.
every morning, well, all day long actually, because we can see it. Right, I work at the kitchen table, and from the kitchen table I can see the nest. And it's like, it feels like such a privilege to see this little, I just love hummingbirds. They're so
They're
tiny, aren't
beautiful.
they?
Yeah. They're like magical fairies when you do see one because 'cause they're so quick.
Yeah, they are. It's just
Mhm.
amazing. It's just amazing. So something though that really gives yourself a gift in the morning when you wake up, that yes, I deserve this day. It is a new day. It's a new opportunity to do whatever I want and be however I want. And to really realize that every day we have a new beginning is such a gift, because I mean, we're not perfect. Let's face it, you know.
No, no. And I appreciate you giving that permission because I've always said that I couldn't handle too much in the morning right
Mhm.
away, and I
Mhm.
think that lends to why that would be, and the serendipity of this is that I had never even heard that before. With all the things I've read, I've never heard that, and I just happened to hear a video like 2 days ago related to that and dopamine being low
Yes.
in the morning,
Yes.
and I thought, "Oh my gosh, I never even thought about that." So the timing couldn't be more meaningful for you because now that you're saying it and I'm not just hearing it on social media,
Yeah. I
I can actually take it a little bit more as gospel and apply it into my life. So I hope everyone else does the same. Dr. Deb, thank you so much for coming. Where can people find you and more about your really amazing RIM method that I have to learn more about for sure?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I would
Mhm.
love to have you come with us.
Mhm.
You can find things on the website at RIM Institute, RIM Institute forgave.com. And so we do have a directory of people I have trained. So I am not doing individual sessions as much as I am training coaches and therapists how to do this technique now, and also just getting the movement out. That because the thing that RIM shows us when you experience it is that we are so much more resourced and resilient than we think we are, but we're using our mind so much that we don't realize it.
Agreed. Agreed.
So,
I love the ideas you gave today, though. A lot of them just I can't wait to go use them. And I promise you, I will send you
okay,
my journal about me and my muscles
good,
talking.
good. I'm looking
Or the
forward.
muscles. I don't even know whose muscles it is. I have to sit down and talk with them. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for being here. We would love to hear if you use some of these, if you use some of these methods and if they, if they worked, if they brought some really great revelations or just some ahas. Would love to hear from you. So please go ahead and reach out. And again, remember, you may be wired differently, but you are worthy always. Bye. Thank you again.